Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Talking Real Estate with Champions Real Estate Team here at Berkshire Hathaway Home Service Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wehner II, team leader here. Every Wednesday, we jump on, give a rundown what's going on in the real estate market over the last 7 days. We also like to give a quick tip over, at the beginning of each one. Quick tip today, as you have seen probably in your mailboxes, you have gotten your county valuations, your property valuations. Those that are current homeowners. Every year about this time, we get the property valuation assessments, essentially what the tax assessor feels your property is worth. And I've already had a couple of my past clients and friends and stuff reach out to me saying, "Hey, is it worth the protest?" So yeah, if you've gotten one of those, you feel obviously if it's increased a lot, and you feel it's above what market value is, reach out to me. My number's down here, 672-7670. Email me, whatever. Send me a copy of what you got. And I can take a look at it, look at the on the MLS and see what's in your neighborhood. And ultimately, it's the value of what the assessor is, but ultimately it's market value as well. So sometimes there's reason to protest, and sometimes the tax assessor is finally caught up to what market value is of that house, and there's not much we can really do from a protest standpoint of it. I have protested, a handful, me personally, some of my residents. I've protested them successfully. The biggest thing is to have evidence, to have a market analysis, show comparable homes that you have in your area neighborhood, and you can go to that tax assessor. Last year, I did one for my personal residence, met with the referee, basically presented my data to him, and then he goes to the board, to the assessors, and say, "Hey, I agree or disagree. This is the data," and I was able to win my my assessed value. So I was able to get it to stay where it was from the previous year. So those are some things. I mean, if you just think, "Oh, I think the market's too high," la da da da, those protests aren't going to fly very very well. So I've helped a lot of my clients. I've actually gone on behalf of my clients down to Douglas County to the assessor's office and actually sat down with the assessor, with the workers there, and gone over the data. And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no. But at least you get a fighting chance to go in and protest your valuation if you feel that it is too high in that. So I mean, you're kind of at the mercy of what the housing market's done over the last couple of years, which we've seen significant appreciation in the houses. So I mean, it's a good thing. Yes, we all want our houses to go up, but we don't want the assessor value to go up because ultimately that affects our property taxes. And I mean, that's a whole discussion for another day as far as property taxes and all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, but yeah, if I can help you out in any way, shape, or form, give me a holler. Happy to look it over. I'm actually going to work on one today that one of my prior clients sent me a text that, "Hey, is there any way we can protest this?" And sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. And I know sometimes there's times where I know in one of my houses I had, the valuation went up, but it was still significantly less than what the market value. So yes, unfortunately, my property taxes went up, but I'm like, I don't want to protest them until my house is worth more than what it actually is, than what they think it is. Because then they can kind of reassess and assess it for more. So you got to be, kind of have to, have that, common ground there with that is. So, and I think some of those, if my value hasn't, some values haven't changed for a couple of years, and also it takes a big jump. Well, essentially those previous years, you've almost gotten a tax break because the assessor hasn't really assessed you at all. And then all of a sudden, it's not nice that all of a sudden you get a huge jump. It'd be nice if it was more incremental spread out, than all of a sudden getting a, 20% increase, in your valuation, in 1 year, or 40%. I mean, I've seen some crazy numbers out there, but if I can help you protest, like I said, happy to help you, happy to look over the data for you, excuse me, and let you know kind of if we have some grounds for a protest evaluation and things like that. So, and the other things with that too is you look at deferred maintenance. So I had one of my clients that they actually went all the way to the Board of Equalization, past the assessor, basically had a hearing essentially down in Lincoln. And they at that time they want estimates of if you need a new deck or you need new windows or you need updated, exterior paint or roof. If you're going to go that far, you need to basically make sure you get some estimates, of what that costs, because that's all deferred maintenance. If they say your house is worth, 400,000, but it needs $50,000 worth of work, obviously that value, that 400,000 should be in tip-top shape. So if you have some deferred maintenance that you haven't done, and you can get some estimates, that's the way to protest it. Because the more evidence you have to back your case, the better it's hopefully gonna turn out for you versus, just saying, "Oh, I feel like my valuation's too high. My neighbor's house is this, my other neighbor's house is this," But if you can show that hey, I need a new deck. My deck is 20 years old, or my windows are old, or the driveway's all cracked, or whatever those deferred maintenance items, and you can get some bids for those estimate or for those projects. You can use that as also evidence that, hey, my house isn't worth 400. Maybe it's worth 470 or 375. And that can hopefully give you a little bit of tax break and things like that sort. So yeah, happy to help you. Give me a holler. Like I said, I've done it multiple times in the past, so I can help you out in any way, shape, or form I can. I will. So look at the housing market over the last 7 days. We had 664 new listings go live. I think I did these numbers about 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning. 450 new contracts written, and we had a big jump on the sold houses. So basically, after Memorial Weekend, a lot of people went in and closed on those houses. So 568. So that's a large number we've had for a long time in there too. But yeah, so like I said, basically market's still the same as far as what it was last week. We're still seeing about 600 houses, come on the market. We're seeing about 450, is where we're at right now. So it's still a good time to buy, good time to sell, in regards to all that kind of fun stuff. So like I said, buyers are still wanting, if they think they're paying a premium for the house, they want to make sure that house is in good shape, it's cleaned. We just talked about deferred maintenance, for those items. Yes, you may want to sell that house for 400, but again, somebody's buying it, they walk in and see it needs a new deck, new windows, new carpet, driveway's got some settling or cracking. Those are all things that buyer is going to be looking at. Yes, you want to get 400, but you may get an offer for 375. And why is that? Well, because of the deferred maintenance. And so same thing like when I'm listing a house, it's like, hey, let's take a look at that, price it accordingly, 375. They may look at it and go, hey, I'm getting a good deal on it as far as, market value. Maybe I'll pay a little bit more. Maybe I'll pay 380, 385 if they get in multiple offer situations. But if you price it high at that 400, what market level is, buyers will just not even look at it. And so the next thing you know, you may be reducing your price, your listing price, just to get that some attraction. You may even settle for less than what you could have if you priced it appropriately at the very beginning when you're listing that house. And so that's why working with an educated agent and have a game plan to go around with that. That's what we're here to do here at Champions, is get you a good game plan, strategically, position that house to get the most amount of eyeballs, most amount of activity, and ultimately try to get as many offers as we can and get that highest price for you for your house. So yeah, so that's kind of what's going on in the market there. Let's look at a 30,000 foot view. Share up the next one here quick. So we are just over, it pulls up here, we're just over 3,400 homes on the Omaha and Lincoln MLS that are active on the market. Just under 2,000 of those are in Douglas and Sarpy counties. So we have 1,985 houses. So dropping that number, dividing that number out into existing houses, we have about just 1,055, and we have 930 new construction homes. So, out of the entire metro area, we got about 1 million people out there. I think what the new census data just came out this year, we have 1,000 houses for existing homes for people to look at in Douglas and Sarpy County. So it's not a lot. And we got about 2.4 months supply of inventory. Our average sold price is up about that 350, 349 number there. That's steadily gone up over the last couple of weeks. It's gone up about $1,000 each time. So yeah, we're still seeing a pretty healthy, active market there. And as far as interest rates go, they're kind of right around that 6.75 to 7, depending on what your credit score is, all that kind of fun stuff. There's a lot of variables that go into that. So if you have questions on that, give me a holler. I can connect you with a loan officer that can basically get you a game plan. That's the biggest thing we do here, is get you where you need to be in position to buy a house. Everyone's like, I want to time the market. Is now the right time to buy? Is the market a good market to buy in? Is it a good market to sell in? A lot of times it boils down to when is a good time for you, not necessarily timing the market or timing it when to sell. Yes, if selling, we can talk about, I can show you the chart, show you the numbers on when a good time to list of the year. But ultimately it's when's best for you. When's the house ready to rock and roll? When's the house updated, cleaned, all that good stuff, and that's putting a game plan together. We just met with a client last night about getting their house ready, and they're maybe 6 months out. And that's great. Let's get the stagers in there. Let's get a game plan together so that way you're not feeling rushed when all of a sudden you're like, hey, we found a house we want to buy. We got to sell our house. We got to, cram all this into 1 month, and you're trying to crank things out, and yes, we can do that on our end and have that house ready to rock and roll, get it on the market. But are you prepared to do what needs to be done to get that house ready that fast? Or is it best to meet 6 months ahead of time and say, hey, we're thinking about selling our house. Let's get rocking and rolling with it. What do we need to do? Here's the steps you need to do, so we can try to eliminate as much stress as we can and make it a smooth process going through the entire thing. So But yeah, if you have any questions, give me a holler. Happy to help. So 402-672-7670. And if you have questions about that protest valuation, give me a holler. I've done it many times now personally for my properties. And I gather the data. You have to write a little letter, and you kind of just plug and chug in that side and plug in, what your data is. And like I said, if you have a lot of deferred maintenance at the house, not a bad thing, but get some estimates. Have somebody that does decks. If you got a deck that needs to be replaced, if you got a roof, you got those type of things, go get estimates. Use that for your deferred maintenance items, and have all that data in the first protest. Because if you go to the assessor, they look at it. You go to the referee, then they kick it to the next person. The farther you get down, the more data that they are going to want. And if you have all that data at the very beginning, then they can make a decision for you, and you don't have to chase your tail as you're going down and make it a long drawn out process. So that's what I've found has been successful for me and for my clients that I've helped do this. But it's get as much evidence, much data as you could have to go sit down with somebody at the assessor office and say, hey, here's what I feel what it is. What do you feel it is? What is your evidence? And ask them to present what data they have rather than just some algorithm saying, oh, we're just going to blanket, increase everything by 20%, 15, 10, whatever that number is, in those valuations. And I know I live up in Washington County, and they're very hands-on, which is great, because first time I went to protest, they basically, I went down, turned in my paper. Well, when can we come look at your house? Can we come out today? And I'm like, sure. Because when I was in Douglas County, it was a month, and sometimes you weren't even meeting somebody. They may call you on the phone, but in the smaller communities, smaller county areas, the less denser population, they have an opportunity to come out to your house, and they check how many fixtures you have. They check your square footage. They measured my house. They did everything. And that's great. So then they're getting accurate data. I have accurate data to go off of, and we can pull those numbers and we can see, where the cards fall at, in that regard. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, happy to help you. Hope this helped for you. But give me a holler, 402-672-7670, and we will rock and roll with it. Take care, and we'll see everybody next week. And enjoy the weather out there. And